Before we start, let me explain our approach. There are two things in our app. One is the element, which means the backend stuff, such as a text widget. Let's Alt-T open up the terminal, open the app, and show you what the codes do. Remember to activate the environment, scripts activate, then Flet run. This is our app. It's too dark to see the app details. Let's change something behind. Here you see there are a bunch of page.title, page.something, right? They are the app window attributes. Let's say we don't want a dark theme, so change page.theme mode to light. Then Control S, save, and you should see the background change to white. Whenever you see these page.something, they are the backend properties. So you can see me putting them under the comment backend stuff. For example, we have a text field, which this text preview area is just this backend element, preview text. In a previous video, I told you some web elements are already there for you. This preview text is one of those pre-built elements. Let's say we want to change the label. Instead of preview upload content, we call it upload text. Save it. Now it shows upload content. Feel free to tweak it as you need. You can always refer to the documentation. Let's say Flet text field and Google it. Just look for whatever properties that you want to set. For example, adaptive autocorrect background color. Just pick the one you need. Here, I'm not going to go over everything. We'll drill down to details when we develop our app. Okay, so that's the first concept, the backend element. That's the element section here. Even if we have done all the backend elements, as long as we don't include it in the layout section, we still won't see it. Let's say this preview area where you see here, if I don't include it in the layout page.add, Control/ comment out and Control save, then you won't see the element, right? But it's still in my backend. That means create the app element and we have to display it under the layout section. You see it appears again, right? That's just the first part. The second thing we're going to learn is the app layout. Here, let's create 3 buttons. Place them horizontally like this to fill up the app's single row. 1 button, 2 buttons, 3 buttons. Here I'm just using them for demo purpose. Remember this element as well as those events laid out, they are all embedded under the main function. What's inherited inside the main function is just the page object. Just put it in main, then when the current file name is main, that's why I told you to rename it as main.py. If the file name is main, then run this app, ft.app, and run it as a desktop app. Of course, you can set the view attribute to whatever web view, I can't remember the name, in case you want to deploy it as a web app, you can do this. For details, just refer to the documentation. We won't touch it by now. Alright, let's create 3 elements. For example, element 1, LE1, LE2. Element 1 is just an elevated button. I should have create a button. There we go. This is an elevated button. This elevated button is defined here. You see from Flet import elevated button. If you don't import specific widget, like you just import Flet as pound key, then you should have to type ft.elevated button every time, which I don't want to. For example, elevated button, give it a label. It is called btn1. Just label it this way. You can create 3 buttons like this. For now, I'll do it like this. I'll show you later how to element 1, element 2, element 3. Just assign them as elevated button. It's a bit more advanced. Here, we're just a bit schoolboy. Create 3 buttons mentioned earlier. If we don't call the element in the layout section, it won't show up on the app, right? Now let's include them in the layout. Element 1, element 2, element 3. Save it. You'll see all 3 buttons, but they are all stacking up underneath. Let's try some coding first. Here, create an element called row1. This row1 is a row object which you can find from the import section. It's already there in your download template. This is row object imported from Flet. This row has an attribute called controls. This controls how the element is presented on the app interface. Since it is a row, it controls how the element is presented horizontally. The first element to place is element 1, element 2, element 3, which is this button above, right? Now let's get rid of these buttons below. We just put row 1, save it. Now the 3 buttons here are laid out horizontally. What we want to do is to evenly fill up the app horizontally. If you don't remember the code to align, simply search Flet now and look for the alignment properties. Properties here, it lists all the alignment methods. By default, it's start. If you set it to start, you get this. The buttons are stacking along the left side. Let's try property n. Here we type ft.alignment.n. Let's see what we get. Save it. Nope, doesn't work. Oh, I see. The alignment for the row has to be main axis alignment.something. Doesn't matter. Just copy it to my main.py. Type main axis alignment.n. Okay. Save it and see if it works. Now you see that the buttons are stacking on the right. Let's try space between. It looks like this. Let's vary the button size. Let's try start. Probably doesn't load. In case you can't load your app, don't wait. Close it. Let's try again. Flat run. Alright. Let's try space around. And it'll be like this. Here you can decide the button width. Just try 200. Of course, you can specify each button's width, but here I just expand equals true. Do this for all 3 buttons. Expand equals true. See if they filled up the row. Okay. You can see it already filled up. Button 1, button 2, button 3. When you set expand equals true, you may not be able to set width. Oops, still works, but it already fills up the row. And we can get rid of these unnecessary codes. So in this video, we learned how to define the element, tweak the layout, and how to do horizontal alignment. Control S, save our current file. Remember, we need a backup. Simply append a number after the download template. So in case we mess up our main.py, we can go back to the Flet subfolder, which is also our environment folder. That's the backup we just saved. Hit F2 and save as a new main.py. That's how we recover our progress if we really mess up our current main.py. That's it. Ciao.